About my voice. I still have some kind of a little winter cold. Every time it's going away, it warms up, and then it gets super cold again. It comes back. So with that, so I want to jump on here a couple times today. The next video we're going to talk about the finches, and I want to share with you something new that I got for them and the behaviors that they exhibit with their new toy. So with that, that will be the next video very shortly because it's very interesting. So with that, I've got this article that came in my email this morning, and it's from it was on what they call Newsbreak, and it's from Animals of Things, and the title is Pitbull Laws in Vermont and what owners need to know to stay legal. So I haven't read this through. I wanted to read it and kind of do it as a reactionary and discussion piece. So let's see what it's saying. It's by a site called Animal of Things. That's what the site is called. And let's see here. This is talking about Vermont. Vermont allows pit bull owners at the state level. Um, I'm sorry. Vermont allows ownership of pit bulls at the state level, but local communities can create their own rules about the dogs. Vermont does not have a statewide ban on pit bulls. The one town, Montgomery, if any of you are familiar with that, it has maintained a ban on pit bull, check this out, guys, pit bull type dogs since 1988. Can you believe that? Since 1988. And they're not even looking at the breed, they're looking at the type. I find that interesting because there's very specific characteristics to a pit bull, and we're going to look it up in a minute. But this means your ability to own a pit bull in Vermont depends largely on where you live within the state. Can I just tell you that I didn't know that? Like if I went to adopt a tiny little baby pit bull and all of a sudden I find out that I can't have it, I mean, that's kind of weird. Um, I'm not adopting one right now, but love dogs, all dogs. So understanding pit bull laws in Vermont requires looking at both state regulations and the local ordinances that might affect you. In other words, whatever town that you decide to live in or you're in. While Vermont is often seen as a welcoming state, breed-specific legislation still exists in certain areas. Um, Again, I had not a clue. These laws can impact everything from whether you can own a pit bull or how you must contain and control your dog. Excuse me. So, if you own or plan to get a pit bull in Vermont, you need to know the specific requirements in your town. This guide will walk you through Vermont's approach to breed specific legislation. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Breed specific legislation. So, guess what, guys? That's called BSL. That's the acronym. I didn't know that. I guess they're calling it BSL. It must be something we use often. So, Vermont does not have a statewide breed specific legislation that bans or restricts pit bulls. This means you can own a pit bull in most parts of the state of Vermont without facing any legal barriers. However, local municipalities have the authority to create their own ordinances. Again, they're mentioning Montgomery. Now, if I find that this is only Montgomery, I would think that they'd put in the title, Montgomery has laws. Because here we go. Montgomery is currently the only Vermont town with an active ordinance. So they made it kind of sound like it was different towns in Vermont at the beginning of the article. But so Montgomery has had this since 1988. It has less than 2,000 people in its little district. Okay, so Vermont has actually seen a positive trend in recent years. Highgate repealed its pit bull ban in 2014 after having it place since 1981. St. Albans followed suit in 2015. So St. Albans is I guess next to Burlington, it's a pretty good size. They probably, I don't know if the article covers it, but some of you probably remember this many years ago. There was this whole thing going on, people breeding these dogs and then making bets and using them in a most terrible way. It could have something to do with that, that they decided to put these laws in effect, but they've lifted the laws. So in 2014, Representative David Potter sponsored a bill, House Bill 755, which would have prevented the towns from creating breed specific bans across the state. Okay, so then let's skip down here to pit bull ownership requirements in Vermont. Vermont does not have statewide breed specific legislation that targets pit bulls. So I wonder why they made that sound like that in the title. You can legally own a pit bull in most areas of the state without worrying about getting a permit or restrictions. However, you must follow general dog ownership laws that apply to all breeds. So this one I do notice and I do get concerned about, just with any breed, is when the person is letting their dog loose, walking right next to them. I get that your dog, I love dogs, and many dogs are very well behaved, but you cannot count on another dog or another wildlife even being uh, such well mannered. And if your dog reacts, it's going to react. It's a dog. Okay, it's got instincts for protection. However, so these laws are, excuse me, these are standard requirements in Vermont. License your dog with the local municipality. Um, Keep rabies vaccinations current. Now, when your dog gets really super old, the vet will tell you what vaccinations your dog needs and can withstand. Sometimes when the dog gets very, very old and frail, certain things they will just skip because the dog may not be able to handle these vaccinations. I had a tiny little dog. At the end of his life, they did skip a few vacs, but that's a very rare. So you've got to keep them updated on the rabies vaccinations. Maintain proof of vaccination. If you don't have it, your vet will have it on record at the office. Follow the local leash laws. This, like, I just cannot reiterate this one enough. Even dogs on the leash sometimes get nervous or react in a way that may surprise you. And sometimes dogs, when they don't feel well, they may be agitated and the owner isn't even aware of it yet. And sometimes that will spark them to behave in a way that you just, it is unbeknownst to you even. Ensure the proper control of your dog in public. Only one town in public maintains an active breed, and again, they name Montgomery. So they named Montgomery probably 4 times in this article. If you plan to move, oh, listen to this. I'm surprised this is at the end. If you plan to move to Vermont with a pit bull, check your specific town regulations. While the state allows pit bull ownership, your local municipality may have additional requirements such as licensing fees, registration deadlines, all of this, they're saying. Okay, so the article actually goes on, guys. Housing and property restrictions in Vermont. Um, so some individual cities and towns may have these specific laws. Um, but if you're in, they're talking here, rental property challenges. There may be restrictions, of course, in a rental. Some rental places, they will restrict any breed that is, for example, over 40 pounds, because they want just small dogs in the building. So that would be a private property policy and landlords restricting in their lease agreements. Under the Fair Housing Act, landlords cannot refuse legitimate emotional support animals, even if the animal is a restricted breed. But you must have proper documentation. I would say, just after losing my house a number of years ago and having to rent, I would say don't go down that path. If you know you have a restricted, like certain kind of animal that is going to cause havoc with your landlord, don't even move into the place. Check it out before you get in there. You don't want to go down that path, especially if you have an emotionally, like you have an animal that is giving you emotional support. Why would you create more emotional havoc in your own life fighting over the animal? So get in a place where you know that that animal is accepted in the first place. Homeowners insurance policies may exclude certain dog breeds from coverage. Some insurance companies refuse to cover properties where pit bulls live. And they're talking about pit bulls here. Let me tell you something. We've got just in not just this building, it seems to me between this building and very close by buildings, there's got to be about 5 pit bulls, 4 or 5. And they're all the sweetest, friendliest little dogs. There are dogs, the mastiffs, that you need to be very careful about. Their heads are twice as big as a human head. Seriously, I'm not kidding you either. If you have an owner who cannot control that dog, right, you want to be very mindful of that. I saw somebody with a mastiff not too long ago. She was tiny, like 4 feet. She was just above the dog's back. If that dog decided it had to defend her for some reason, there's no way she could hold that dog. Absolutely no way. So you got to be able to control the dog. That's why you see a lot of senior citizens with very tiny little dogs. They want to be able to stop the dog if the dog gets upset about something. You have uh, should have your lease reviewed definitely before you move in the place in Vermont, especially if you're not familiar with Vermont. Containment and control laws in Vermont. Vermont requires dog owners to keep their dogs confined and controlled. Um, and these apply to all dogs. So you must keep your dog under control at all times. And yeah, you can't let, I've seen people let their dog just kind of go barking towards somebody and over and over and over, and they take their time going over to get the dog to, no, 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 you need to, with readiness, preparedness, responsibility, you need to be able to not even let your dog be running towards people, barking at them and scaring them. You don't know what that person, you know nothing about that other person. They may be prone to seizures, they may have a medical condition, they may have an emotional condition. whatever. You don't know. You want to always keep your dog safe, and keep people safe. You know, your dog may be totally safe, but a person may perceive the dog as, sorry about that sun coming in, guys. So we're almost done here. Dogs must be securely confined to the property. You need adequate fencing if you're letting the dog run. And dogs cannot roam freely in public places. Um, and if you see that, and it's kind of repeated, or it shouldn't even be just, it shouldn't even happen. Don't say anything to the person, because let me see if I can get out of the light here. Sorry about that, guys. But you don't want to really say anything and start an argument with someone. But if you see something like that's occurring over and over, maybe just tell the town the town hall about it and get it addressed so it doesn't continue. And secure enclosures are mandatory for dogs designated as dangerous. In other words, there are dogs, whether they're pit bulls or whatever they are. Many rescues, and I had a rescue, will have emotional issues because of the way they were treated. My dog first was frightened and angry at people. So every time we came upon a person, because she was little, I picked her up. I picked her up and gave her security. I didn't let her bark and bark and bark, and we're walking and walking and walking and barking and barking. I didn't let her go into a frenzy. I picked her up and gave her security, and I turned around away from the person. Well, within a year or so, she not only loved people again, but this was her thing. She needed to socialize and get out and say hello to people. So I introduced her to that slowly and holding her. You have to treat your dog like they are a little person, because in essence they are little creatures with these feelings and, yes, thoughts and triggers and everything else that goes along with how they were treated. So anyway, I took great time with her, and she just flourished. She responded to it. Now, there are some dogs that can't be picked up. They just can't. They're too big. And they may start barking and kind of go at people and get all nervous. Don't go into their space. If you are around that, move away. Move away. Maybe you want to tell them it's okay. Leave them be and let the owner walk with their dog. Give them their space. You don't want them to get confused and accidentally nip at you. Okay. If your pit bull has been designated as dangerous or has an emotional issue, you face a stricter requirement, and you may need to maintain liability insurance of $100,000 or more. And the dog must wear a muzzle. I saw a dog the other day with this huge muzzle. It seemed like a double muzzle. And I was looking at the dog. It was not a pit bull, guys. It looked like a mix of a collie and something. But it had this huge muzzle on it. So there must have been a reason for that. So this says you must also post warnings about your dog on your property. So and there's penalties if you violate these. Like if you know your dog is prone to go after people, maybe it goes after its ankles, it goes after people. You don't want a UPS guy or mail guy thinking it's okay to open the gate and walk up your property. Post it, and they won't. They'll figure out something else. They will call you. But there are fines and citations, and There can also be criminal charges if you are not open and forthright about the behaviors of a dog. Why are they acting? Why are these restrictions on some of these dogs so huge? If you're as old as I am, you do remember many cases, unfortunately, of the breed, the pit bull breed, if not accidentally, unfortunately, unaliving people. There's incidents of it in the past. That's why. That's why they're going through that. So they go on in this particular article, liability and penalties for pit bull incidents in Vermont. They're not going. So let me just list these because I find these interesting. But medical expenses, so if the pit bull or the dog bites somebody, we know this. We know this. Lost wages, pain and suffering, emotional distress, scarring, and disfigurement. That's if a person gets bit. Okay. So that's pretty much the end of the article. So the article, I'm going to give you the name of it in case you want to look at it because it goes into, I kind of highlighted some of the legal parts of it, but it's called Animal of Things, and it's called, the title is Pitbull Laws in Vermont. What owners need to know to stay legal. So, anyway, with that, you know, so many people in the state of Vermont absolutely love animals. That's why there's so many rentals where you can have an animal. Many of the rentals will say $25, $50 extra a month to have an animal. The only reason they do that is they want to make sure you're serious about having your pet. Because if you're going to pay extra, you're going to take really good care of your pet. You're going to make sure that they, don't bother other the tenants and things like that. Anyway, I love pit bulls. I think they're most adorable. So let's just take a look at the features of a pit bull breed because um, okay, let's see here. So that's funny. That made me laugh. Pit bull, pit bull breed. So for those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to be honest. Some of the pit bull mixes you can't even tell, but American Pit Bull Terrier is the real name. Let me just show you this for a minute. You see all the different beautiful colors. You see the RC? The white dog with the black eye. That's the, for those of you who can remember, that's the RC dog. That was a pit bull, guys. Let's see. The sun is coming in here. Let's see if we can get you some more images. Here's some more images. Now, some of these pit bulls, let's just show you a few more pictures. These are some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. So let's just go over characteristics of a pit bull. And so can I just tell you though, a pit bull is an absolutely fantastic pet to have. If you're looking for protection, trust me. If someone knows, I think that's why a lot of people get the pit bull. Oh, thank you. It's going good. Thank you. Yeah. I'm still fighting a little cold, guys. Like I said, I apologize. I can't even believe this cold is hanging on. But it's negative outside. It's -1 outside this morning again. So check this out, guys. If you're thinking of getting a pit bulls are intelligent, they're loyal, and they're highly affectionate dogs. And you do have to just pay attention to their behaviors, because my niece, whom I haven't seen in years, guys, she just tell it if you're out there. So she had two pit bulls. And when one of my daughters were tiny, one of the pit bulls kind of first started kind of like licking her arm and then just kind of nipping, nip, 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 like, yeah, yeah. I had to pull her away quickly. She had bright red hair, so they may have mistook her for a fox or something. You need to watch and be very responsible. Make sure you have the energy and the health. That's just why I'm holding out a little bit before I get another dog, because my little Sophia, when she got sick, it was a 24/7. She had diabetes. Guys, oh my God. It was the saddest time in my life. I'm not kidding. One of the saddest times in my life. Anyway, with that. So these dogs are often described as, ooh, that's not cool. These dogs are described as Velcro dogs that love to be close to their families. They're known for their muscular, I don't know what dog doesn't love to be close. Like they just stare at you with those little puppy eyes, you know. But they're known for their muscular and their athletic build and their high energy. Um, we have some in the building that get the zoomies. Oh, anyway, I'm so sorry. But they get the zoomies and they run around and around. And because it's so cold out, they haven't been able to get out. um, so anyway, they require they're playful and confident, but they require consistent training and early socialization. Um, so can I just say that is with any dog? I'm not kidding you. If you decide to ignore your dog, you're going to have behavior issues. The key characteristics of a pit bull is they're affectionate and people oriented. They're energetic and athletic. They're intelligent and trainable. They're loyal and protective. They're determined, and check this out, tenacious. They're known for their tenacity. They are driven and often persistent. This is why you got to be careful with them. If they feel like there's a problem to solve, these dogs are intelligent enough that they will figure out how to solve it. In other words, they're intelligent enough to know if you have an enemy. You understand what I'm saying? Dogs in general will pick up the pheromones or hormones or whatever it is, because those are real in a human being towards you. They could be smiling at you and they have ill intent. Your dog is going to pick it up. That's why dog owners pay attention to their dogs when their dogs are acting weird towards a person nearby. It's a very real thing. That's why it's good to have a dog, just any dog, period, okay? The pit bull is more in tune. You need to be careful, because guess what? They can also misinterpret it, because if someone's angry and upset, they may think they're angry and upset at you. So the potential dog aggression, while friendly towards people, it is not uncommon for the pit bull to exhibit aggression or react to another dog aggressively. They're protecting you. Nice, but you know what? Not okay. You do not want them to harm another dog or person. Their physical characteristics are they have short, sleek, and a stiff coat. They are very muscular in their build. And that's what makes them a little frightening for people, okay? Because they can do serious, serious injury, if not fatal, towards a person or dog. Their size, they're usually between 30 to 80 pounds. And they're usually almost about 2 feet up to the shoulder, about 3 feet up to the shoulder, sorry. Head and eyes, they have very wide head and expressive, unusually dark almond shaped eyes. Their care. You need to be able to exercise this dog if you're going to have a pit bull. You've got to be able to get them out because they're very high energy. Um, they're you can train them and socialize them, but you need to work at it. In their environment, you need to have a double fence because they are very capable climbers. They could jump up over a fence easily, in other words. Anyway, that is it about the pit bull. And so I send you love and light. Be safe. If you have a pit bull, you have a dog in general, go by the rules for your community. Make sure all of your people in your community, your elderly and your tiny little ones, moms with babies, moms who are pregnant, people who can't walk well, people who are vulnerable, keep your dog on a leash so they feel safe. Even though you know your dog is safe, respect the perception of another person. And with that, I send you love and light. We'll see you shortly in the next one.